Lab Talk, Lab Talk, Lab Talk, Lab Talk. How y'all doing out there, man? It's been a minute. I know that I don't do this format, how we kind of started things that often. I got a few other things going on within the Lab Talk sphere. But today, I wanted to discuss something with you guys in particular. And I'll start it with a question. Why do you guys always jump to conclusions? Yeah, you. Why do you guys always jump to conclusions? So let me preface my question. Recently, T.I. and Tiny were in the news for having some sexual assault allegations. And while I take heed to the information it's given, I had some people within my sphere completely jump out the window and withdraw their support. Say, I'm no longer listening to, watching, etc., anything that these individuals are involved in. So while I understand the sentiment, I do want to give a quick disclosure before I get to my point. So this disclosure is, I by no means am saying that we should ignore any sort of allegations or that we should ignore any information. I think any allegations and information should be sought through all the way until we can come to the most conclusive form of truth that we can find. So I want to get that out the way. But this is my issue with it. I feel like there's a difference between convictions and allegations. And I think that as Americans, we should kind of let the process play itself out. We also know that as Americans and, rich black folks are not above the law, and that this information will eventually come out as to whether or not it was true or it was not true. And I want to pivot to a little bit of cloth talk. This is about us. This is about the culture. This is about black and brown folks. We know what it's like to have an allegation turn into a public conviction. We know what that feels like. Every single time we walk into a grocery store, every single time we walk into a corner store, every single time we walk into a department store, every single time we get into our cars and a cop car gets behind us, every single time we're seen on the street in a place maybe where we're not supposed to be. We understand how allegations can turn into convictions based on the public. We also know how allegations can turn into fatal situations. We've experienced it. We've seen it. So while the outside world may treat us a certain kind of way based on other people saying things about us, I think that we should be cautious as to how we treat each other. We should be cautious as to how we deal with our own allegations and our own convictions, because I'm old enough to know that jealousy and envy exist. I'm old enough to know that the most reasons why people are jealous and envy is money. And T.I. and Tiny have an absorbent amount of it. So while they may have a different sort of sexual lifestyle than most of us do, while they may do things that are out of the box, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're guilty of this. And it also doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't guilty of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve my judgment until all of the information is out. And I suggest that you guys do too, rather than jumping to conclusions, because we're only hurting ourselves and we're kind of taking an outside approach with internal things. So that's Lab Talk. I'll get back with y'all in a minute. I appreciate you. Make sure that you comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be alerted when these things drop. And I'll be talking to y'all soon. Peace.
Got a clique full of shooters.